when it comes to Jujutsu Infinite, I just think it's not good enough. Like, once you get to max level, the game just becomes boring, in my opinion. Like, I played the game myself, I've already at like max level, and I don't really see any like point playing the game anymore. And the reason why I say this is because once you get to max level, there's basically nothing else you can do. Like, there's no other in-game content that you can really explore and interact with. Like, mainly for like 90%, if not just 100% of the whole gameplay is you just grinding NPCs. Like, the missions feel super repetitive. I've spent hours on this game, right? Like, I've even spent Robux to even get extra slots on the techniques and everything like that. And I just don't really see a point of playing the game, because once you get to that max level, it feels like you're not doing anything. Even the updates, right? Like, let's explore the updates. So there's been about 2 updates like so far, the winter update and the lunar update. And it's basically the same thing. Like, the lunar update is basically the winter update repackaged. It's basically the exact same thing, just with slightly different changes here and there. But it's basically the exact same thing. It's the exact same concept, just adding new items that really don't do that much in the first place. You have people having to grind for hours and hours just to get those tokens, those snake talismans. So it's like, what are we doing? In my opinion, like, what are the devs doing? Like, what's going on? Because the game fails on so many different levels, fundamentally on a creative level and also on a gameplay level. Like, and there's really nothing else to do once you get to 420. So it just fails to really be engaging once you reach the max level, right?
I'm not laughing, bro. We never laugh at that, bro. Real shit, bro. I'm not laughing, bro.
And my biggest critique of the game by far is the fact that the missions, they're so dead. Like, the missions are just so stupid to do, because it's basically, all you do is just, like I said before, is a bandit beater type of missions. You're just killing NPCs. There's no real intrigue when it comes to, doing those missions, right? And it feels like, despite the amount of time the game's been in development, it feels like they might have actually regressed, because I've seen stuff like before the game came out, some of those sneak peeks we got, and it don't seem like it really translated into the release of the game, because you play the game, right? The missions don't feel like it feels useless doing the missions, right? You'll spend so much time killing NPCs. Like, what are you getting out of it? It doesn't feel like there's any reward from doing it. Past that, you're just doing it over and over and over again for hours at a time, bro. Like, it's such a smart thing the devs did, right? Like, the devs are super smart, because they're utilizing bandit beater type of things. Like, they're using bandit beater elements to make sure players stay in their game for longer. And it's a smart way of doing it, but I don't think it's sustainable, right? I don't feel like that type of game is going to last for long. Because we've seen games like this, like Shindo Life. Like, Shindo Life is a big example of where you just have people beating NPCs up for hours and hours at a time. It gets boring, and the game's eventually going to start losing players over time. And I feel like when it comes to Jujutsu Infinite, that's what's going to happen eventually, because you need new things to be in this type of games, but you can't be bringing out games where you just don't, there's nothing creatively, on a creative level, there's nothing interesting to do. Even if you talk about the PvP, right, it's not even good either, because I play the PvP myself, and like I said before, I bought those technique slots. And when you have those technique slots, you can have like the best type of fit, the best type of moves to use in the game in PvP, and PvP becomes easy for you. Like, if you're a normal player, right, and you don't have Robux to buy those type of slots, get those technique slots, you will get decimated in PvP. You don't stand a chance in PvP, because those guys who are in PvP and those leaderboard guys in PvP, they have like the best techniques in the game. They use Robux to buy the slots where they can have all the best moves in the game, so they can use it in PvP and get those quick kills, quickly get people, stun them and get them out of there quick. So in my opinion, PvP is just as useless, because it might as well not even be in the game, because what is the purpose of being in PvP, right? It's just pay to win, and that's the biggest issue in the game. A lot of the stuff you're doing in the game is pay to win, and that's why I feel like on a fundamental level the game is gonna fail eventually. I hope it doesn't, because I feel like the game has potential, right? Like, it was, in my opinion, before it even came out, I thought it was gonna be a really, really good game, but now it's came out, I've been playing it for a while now actually. I don't really enjoy how it feels to play the game. It just doesn't feel great at all. And the funniest thing is that the game is still averaging 100k players every single day. And it does tell you that the game developers are doing something right, because if your game is averaging between 100k and 90k players every single day, that tells you that you're doing something right. You have to be. But at the same time, you have to analyze what they're doing to keep those players in the game for longer. And it's the gambling mechanics in the game. So, the spins, the techniques, right? Legendary techniques like, 0.001% techniques. They're giving out a lot of codes. Like, you kind of see it all over YouTube. People have made these videos, about, oh, get these codes, get those codes and stuff like that. They're giving out a lot of codes these days. And the reason why is because this will keep players in their game for longer. Most players, if you're playing the game, you start the game, right? You want to get the best techniques possible so you can have an easier time in the game. So what they're doing, they're giving a lot of these spins so they keep players spinning till they can try to get a good technique. And realistically, if you're not, you have to have a lot of spins to even try to get a technique, right? And they put a thing I think like below the spins where you can have like a meter where if you get a certain amount of spins or you spin a certain amount of times, you can get like a special grade, which sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, it depends. But this is a smart tactic they'll be using to keep players in the game. And you've probably seen it in games such as like Soul RNG, and you know, it takes like a lot of things from like Soul RNG and they implement it into the game. And it's pretty much allowed them to stay at 100k players per day easily. Like they maintain that 100k player mark to like 90k to 100k player mark every single day. And it does show me that something is working there with the gambling. And I don't know why people they keep falling for it every single time. It just happens in every single game we're seeing now these days. That gambling mechanic is keeping players locked into these games. And Jujustu Infinite has done a really good job of doing it, you know, with the consistent codes and everything like that, which gives you spins and allows players to stay in the game longer to try to get those good techniques or, you know, the best techniques that they can get in game. It's a smart way of, you know, keeping players, but I don't think it's sustainable. Once a player gets to like the max level 420, right, there's nothing else for them to really do in the game, because the game in its bare essentials, it's just grinding, getting items, and maybe a bit of PvP if you want to do it, and that's kind of it. Like there's nothing else you can really do in the game. And you know, the storyline doesn't even last that long. The storyline is really bad as well. Like I did the entire storyline. The storyline is so shit. Like it's actually horrible. Like the storyline is so basic. You don't even do that much in the storyline. Like, it's such bare bones, basic nonsense that it feels like you're just doing normal missions with like some cutscenes mixed into it. Like there isn't really a clear-cut storyline. You're just kind of doing missions in the story. Like that's it. You're just doing cutscene based missions, and that's kind of just it. So it does show you there's a lot of things the game needs to improve on. Like from a fundamental level, you know, creatively, there needs to be something different, because those missions are not good. Like it's not good enough. It just feels like you're doing what every other game has done. Like it's just copy and paste, and copy and pasting from every other game you can probably think of that has like bandit beaters or, you know, gambling mechanics or wherever you can think of. Like even the PvP, just terrible all around, bro. Like keep in mind, the game can still make a lot of changes, but from everything I've heard about the developers and everything like that, I don't know if the game can really adjust and make those changes, because it doesn't seem like the people involved are really that interested in trying to make the game interesting or really trying to make it engaging for their players, because it just doesn't come off like that. Because you hear stories from the testers talking about how during development that developers would ignore their ideas and, you know, not listen to them, and a lot of those ideas could have actually helped the game a lot more. But obviously, because the developers have like a different, I feel like, vision for the game, it might have just made it come out like that, which ended up being more of a bandit beater type of game, which I feel like it could have been so much more than what it was and what we got. So I just feel like the game kind of failed to reach those expectations that most of the community had. But you know, now we play the game, most people play the game, it doesn't feel that great to play. It just feels kind of boring after you get to that max level, like I said before. So, you know, comment down below if you have like a different opinion on this, and yeah, thanks for watching and peace.